What's up, people? Welcome back to Shed Show. You know, when something bad turns out to be good, the tendency is just to be happy about it and, you know, just forget about the bad thing, forget about the details, just enjoy the sausage. And on Saturday, I did just that. If you watched my video a couple weeks before UFC 279, you know how I felt about the Nate vs. Khamzat matchup. It was disgusting. Dana White is extremely spiteful and vindictive. But Saturday, September 10th, the date that was supposed to be the public humiliation and physical destruction of a fighter who gave their life to the company, the date drooled over by said company's sadistic despot, the date preceding the 21st anniversary of the terror attacks on the Pentagon, a field, the Twin Towers, and that other building like 3 blocks away, 9/11. September 10th was an event none of us saw coming, but it was so much better. Something very bad turned into something very good. And the very bad thing started the day before, when Khamzat misses weight by almost 10 pounds. But as a result, the main card gets shuffled into a much better lineup. Nate fights Tony Ferguson, another veteran, and guess what? He freaking wins. So instead of his last UFC fight being on a low note, he leaves on a submission with the flex as the clock struck 2:09, which is, of course, the area code of Stockton, California. Obviously, I don't own the pay-per-view. I watched it with a group, but that's how I remember it. It was awesome. I'm so happy with how it all turned out. But hey, we can't just sit around being all content and happy, you know? Let's take a closer look at some of the stuff that happened. First of all, Khamzat missing weight by a lot. The narrative we got around this weight miss is very suspicious. First of all, the term medical reason being used in bad faith, not very honest. I think this is the UFC's attempt to just try and salvage the public image of their new rising star. As to why he missed weight by so much, well, he was very, very busy the night before the weigh-in with the boys going around town just, you know, being tough guys. I was watching a live stream of the weigh-ins, and the way things panned out that day does not at all match the story of a doctor making him stop the weight cut the night before. And this significant moment is oddly missing from the block asset video, where they literally film everything, including the weight cut, up until suddenly it just cuts straight to the weigh-ins in the morning. So even if that really did happen with the doctor, it's only because he botched the weight cut. He did not do his job, and the weight cut is a huge part of that job. It's one of the things you just have to do. That's not me condoning weight cutting. In fact, I think that fighters should be forced to go up a weight class in the case of multiple misses, or maybe even just one miss if the fighter experiences health issues which require medical care or is otherwise not eligible to fight, or if they miss by an egregious amount, such as this case. I thought they had a cap on how much you could miss weight by and still even be eligible to fight regardless of your opponent agreeing to or not, and I could not find it. But I did find this rule on how underweight you're allowed to come in and still fight. And surprisingly, you can come in a full 10 pounds underweight. Why doesn't anyone take advantage of that and come in 10 pounds light? You'd be so fast. So yeah, you can always fight in a higher weight class closer to your walking weight and forego the whole weight cutting thing, but that's just not where most fighters are confident. So they cut weight. And at this level, you have access to resources and professionals who can just guide you through your weight cut, but you have to listen to the professionals. You can't just hang out with your friends until late at night before the weigh-in and then just do your cut at the last minute. This is when not giving a fuck is just being a twat. Like, you're messing things up, stressing everybody out, including the people that are devoted to your success. He's so busy getting fuffed up by the boys, he thinks he can get away with anything, but no, you can't. And he lost the main event fight. Just because things happen to turn out better for everyone that matters, it doesn't mean that he didn't massively fuck up. And I mean, he had to feel like an idiot. But then Darren Till probably sat him down and gave him a pep talk and said, "Look here, mate." I don't know how to do this. "Look here, mate. They're all haters. We are the best 2 fighters in the world." Darren Till. Okay. No. And of course there's other people who are complicit or whatever. I mean, maybe it is Darren Till's fault. He's not very good at making weight, and Also, why is he running the whole camp around town on like this stupid macho mission to like fight the Diaz team? That wasn't even his opponent anymore. It made no sense. And I feel like his poor coach just like got overpowered by Darren Till and Khamzat just doing whatever they want. But ultimately, I'm putting it on Khamzat because all the professionals on his team, his entire team, they're there for him. And okay, maybe his weight management coach or nutritionist like botched it, but I think it's a lot more likely that Khamzat just did not follow orders. And he didn't set the tone for the camp very well just by doing whatever he wants, eating whatever he wants, and all with the main event on the line, like, sheesh. I don't know, what do you guys think happened after that block asset video suddenly cut? What really happened in those moments and the hours before weigh-ins? Personally, I think he had already pre-screwed himself by not sticking to his meal plan, and then when it came to that last big water dump, it just wasn't going well, so he quit. And he decided that if he's not going to make the weight, then he should at least just be as healthy as possible. Whether a doctor was involved in that decision, I'm iffy. I don't think it was a UFC doctor at least, because the way the news broke, I'm pretty sure they kept it from the UFC almost to the point that they kept it from everyone else, almost to the point where he got on the scale. But either way, I do believe they stopped the weight cut in the early AM hours. He rehydrated, got a nice sleep, and then came in the last minute. Not because he was busy trying to get himself on weight, because he was most definitely not doing that. I think he just stayed in bed until the last possible moment, partly because he knew if he showed up with any significant time left to weigh in, the assumption would be that he's going to use that time to try and make weight, which he had no intention of doing. And I think he also just didn't want to face the music. That's the only way I can make sense of him coming in super late, that heavy, and looking completely healthy. It's like he just expects to get away with everything, which he kind of did in some ways. Like, he wasn't fined and he didn't have to give up any of his purse. I mean, he lost the main event because when it fell to Nate to be the one to give this rising star special treatment for the sake of his own public execution, he was like, fuck no. This was the end of a career full of mistreatment, most of it real, some of it in his head possibly, but Nate persevered and eventually became a fucking megastar without sucking up to Dana. He never sold his soul to the UFC or Dana White, and they hated him for that and underpaid him for that. Like so many fighters, Nate was being exploited by the UFC, but even more really, because like I said in another video recently, the Diaz brothers brought a huge chunk of fans into the UFC. But they were both pretty open about that exploitation, not in like a manipulative way or even a comprehensible way a lot of the time, let's be honest. They were willing to address it though, and that's a big no-no when you're an active fighter in the UFC. Because basically the UFC does not want stars that they cannot control. Wait, let me rephrase that. The UFC doesn't want stars that expose the UFC's shady behind-the-scenes dealings. Okay, that's not a rephrase, because they don't want either of those things. It's both of those things, all of those things. They want to control you in what you say about them. If you want to punch old men from behind or like beat up your wife or your girlfriend or really whatever, that's fine. Maybe even good for business. Oh. But Nate never did any of that whack shit. He never let fame get to his head. I mean, he was the realist in the game. That's how I see it. And for the UFC, he has been everything you would want from a fighter. Taking every fight, available in 2 weight classes, available on short notice, brings a huge loyal fan base on top of attracting casuals, always shows up, and always makes weight. And this year, 2022, after 18 years with the UFC, he's asking to fight out his contract and just retire from the UFC, and they try to have him publicly executed, only for the sheer arrogance of their new rising superstar / executioner to force everything to change.
Their prize pony shit the bed.
Everyone in the world liked Nate vs. Tony better, and Dana had to eat that. He had to try to save his new guy's reputation while hiding how pissed off he was, all while enduring the reputation of Nate Diaz just shining in his face. The better man won that war. Nate pulled off the win and looked amazing doing it, making his stock absolutely massive upon leaving the UFC. Dana had to eat that. So, Dana, I have just one question for you. Bon appetit? And as for Khamzat, yeah, he got the quick win over Kevin Holland, but he did not stand with Kevin for 1 second. And I thought that was a weak move. Kevin was doing him a favor. Kevin is openly sick of fighting wrestlers. He was supposed to fight a striker until Kumquat missed weight and everybody had to take new fights. I just think it shows a lack of respect for the people that bailed him out of this massive blunder. And you'll hear people say like, oh, this is even better for Khamzat. Now he can like be the bad guy and everybody will like still want to watch. Well, I say no. It's not better. He's not better. He let his own arrogance make an ass out of himself, and now he's like an embarrassed toddler doubling down to just hide the embarrassment. He needs to be humble. He's acting like he's Conor McGregor now, but he should be acting like he's Conor McGregor in 2014 before he ever touched gold, because that's where he's at. He shouldn't already be poisoned by his own ego. It's like his ego got stroked so much that he prematurely ejaculated in front of everyone. And that's embarrassing. I would know. He doesn't have to be like an asshole to be a massive star. I mean, everybody liked him before this happened. It's just not, it's not a better option. It's not a better option, Ariel. It's a bad option. I mean, I don't want to be like a hate fan or a reverse fan or anti-fan or whatever. Frankly, I'm sick of his stupid face. Oh yeah, before I go, we have to pay respects to the creator of the brilliant rearranged main card. So during the live weigh-in show, which was getting the news of Khamzat missing weight in real time, Daniel Cormier, having drank a couple of beers for the morning weigh-in show, because I guess they do that to advertise Modelo, which is kind of weird. Anyway, after Khamzat misses weight, they stay live for extra time, expecting news about the card, which they actually never got, because the UFC didn't know about this until everybody else knew about it. So they were too busy scrambling, trying to fucking make things right. So they're just talking and stuff, and DC takes his whiteboard and dry erase marker, and he scrawls out the freaking formula. He gets the order wrong at first, but he corrects it, and bam, you're looking at the fucking main card. And then on a light buzz from some morning Modelo, he solves everything. This is like an Albert Einstein E=mc² type moment. Like, I was watching that live and I was like, oh my freaking gosh, this is amazing. That would be, I didn't really think it would happen. I was just like amazed at the idea of that card. I was like, that would be so perfect. And they freaking did it. So shout out to UFC for that, I guess. And you could say DC had nothing to do with it and it was an obvious thing to do or whatever, but then you would be disagreeing with me. So shout out to DC. That's all I got for now. Peace.